All right. Hello and welcome to the SSL version 6.0 and Luna version 2.0 Draft 1 release webinar. We have a really packed agenda for you over the next hour and a half, so I'm going to jump right into it. Before we get started with the presentations, I'm going to take care of a little housekeeping. If there's something in here that you'd like to go back and see again, or you'd like to share this webinar with someone who couldn't attend, the slides and recording will be posted on our website. I should also let you know that all attendees have been automatically muted, and we'll keep it this way for the entire webinar. But of course, we still want you to be able to communicate. So if you have any questions, you can use the question pane. You can locate this at the top right by clicking on the speech bubble with a question mark. You can see it in this screenshot underlined in green. It is distinct from the chat pane where you probably just received a welcome message. We will not be using the chat pane during this call, so be sure to use the question pane only. We'll be answering these questions through text throughout the webinar, but we won't pause the presentation to answer. However, near the end of the webinar, we will hold a live Q&A session. We'll choose some of the more common questions to answer live, so keep them coming throughout the call so we know what is most relevant to you. So for those of you who may be joining us for the first time, I should mention that the DLC is a nonprofit organization. You can go to the next slide, Lauren. DLC is a nonprofit organization with a mission to reduce energy, carbon, and light pollution. We do this by delivering the right information to decision makers, and one of the main ways we do that is by creating technical requirements that underpin our qualified product lists, which support the majority of incentive programs across North America. On the next slide, I'll show that this document was written by a whole team here at DLC, and we're going to be passing the mic around as we move between topics. So here are the faces you'll be seeing today. Here is the agenda for today's call. We know that not all topics will be relevant to each person, so we're providing some approximate times so you can be sure to tune in at the right time. We wanted this webinar to help you navigate the document. So the agenda items represent the main topic headings of the technical requirements. At the end of the presentations comes that Q&A session. As I said before, you are free to ask those questions in the question pane as you think of them. We'll record all the questions and make sure we follow up on the ones we can't answer during this call. Now I will turn things over to Leora Radetsky, who is going to review the goals of this update.
Thank you, Andrew. Hi, everyone. I'll kick us off today by walking through our objectives for the webinar. Thank you again for attending and for being part of our consortium. Together, we are advancing product performance and building trust to support energy savings, elevate lighting quality, and improve the overall experience within the built environment. Our aim with this presentation is to give you a high-level introduction to the updated technical requirements, focusing on how they support energy efficiency, controllability, light quality, sustainability, and reducing carbon. This session is part of Step 4 in the DLC's 6-step development process. The proposals in Draft 1 come from research, data analysis, and feedback from experts, manufacturers, and stakeholders. We'll cover what's changed from SSL version 5.1 and Luna version 1.0, explain why we made these updates, and invite your feedback. We'll also have 2 follow-up webinars coming soon, one on amber LED lighting and Luna version 2.0, and another on control strategies and field adjustable lighting. Thank you. Lauren, it's been 5 years since our last major SSL policy update. On February 14th, 2020, we released SSL version 5.0 and version 5.1. Those updates focused on persistent energy savings, better product differentiation, improved light quality, and wider adoption of controls. In December 2021, we released Luna version 1.0. The DLC's Luna requirements define performance criteria for certain outdoor lighting product types, helping decision makers select products that save energy while supporting responsible nighttime lighting. Luna builds on SSL version 5.1 requirements and adds additional criteria to limit light pollution and light trespass. Since 2020, we've seen a lot of innovation aimed at sustainability, lighting quality, energy efficiency, and decarbonization. Many of these advancements are reflected in Draft 1. Next slide, please. If you haven't already checked out Draft 1, today's webinar will highlight the scale of the changes that we are proposing. Here are our goals for SSL version 6.0 and Luna version 2.0. Advance energy efficiency and support decarbonization through increased efficacy thresholds and controls requirements. Strengthen the SSL QPL by expanding eligibility to support sustainability, lighting innovation, and flexible installation practices. Drive greater adoption of controls through compatibility-based product selection from SSL and NLC QPLs. And mitigate light pollution by creating more responsible outdoor lighting options. And now I'll hand it over to Andrew and Terrace to share our timeline.
Thank you very much, Leora. So let's take a minute to review the draft release timeline first. Over on the left, you can see we're a couple of weeks into the 6-week Draft 1 comment period, which started on April 7th when the draft was released. After the comment period closes, we'll incorporate that feedback and release Draft 2 on July 21st, which will be followed by another 6-week comment period. The final policy will be released on October 13th, which will support our plan to begin accepting applications right after the holidays on January 5th. Roughly a year from the release of the final policy, we will be delisting all products that have not updated to SSL version 6 and Luna version 2. Next, let's take a look at the application timeline. After SSL version 6 and Luna version 2 applications are accepted beginning in January of 2026, there will be a few months to continue listing to SSL version 5.1 and Luna version 1. Those applications must be submitted by April 18th, and the deadline to complete those applications is May 15th. Later on in the year, we'll begin preparing for delisting those products not qualified under SSL version 6 and Luna version 2. The deadline to submit those applications is August 14th, and the deadline to complete those applications is September 15th. And the final stage of the transition to SSL version 6 and Luna version 2 is the delisting event on October 1st, 2026, when all products that haven't been updated will be removed from the QPL. Now I will turn things over to Casey Holland to go over the draft.
Thank you, Andrew. Yeah, so I'll be setting the stage here with an overview of Draft 1. If you already haven't taken the time and read through, all 100-something pages that we've got. So go to the next slide for me, Lauren. First and foremost, if you are finding yourself coming across Draft 1 for the first time and you're not familiar with all of our standalone policies, Draft 1 and SSL version 6 in general is intended to be a comprehensive document. So it takes all of our currently existing standalone policies, whether it be our technical requirement table document, our warranty or lifetime, or any standalone section that's been kind of developed iteratively over the years, putting them all in one place, making sure all of that information on all of our technical requirements are kind of as accessible as possible. So now, whenever you open up Draft 1 in the SSL and Luna version 2 technical requirements, you can start at the beginning, understand what's eligible, work your way through the document, and understand what technical requirements apply to your products, whether it be standard, premium, Luna, or some other designation within all eligible product types. Next slide. The table 1 in the very introduction of the document here is really takes all of those changes that we have and kind of puts them together in a summary table where it says, this type of topic is impacted in these different sections, and really lays it out at a high level and gives you navigable links that you can click to find that information more easily. That being said, we encourage you to read the entire draft in its full extent and provide comments on any portion of it. Next slide. To most easily find where things have changed, whether it be in an existing policy or in a new section that's introduced for the first time in SSL version 6 Draft 1 or Luna version 2 Draft 1, there are headers and subheaders in the table of contents in the introduction of the document. So within each of these, you'll find a rationale and or a key questions subsection within those sections of the document. And Those two are kind of dead giveaways for there are things that have changed here from existing policy or that are being newly proposed, and we are looking to better explain those changes to you and look for input specifically on those proposals. In total, there are 14 sections in Draft 1 that have introduced key questions. Those key questions have been copied over and put into our comment form for ease of your reference and ease of response. But again, any and all feedback is welcome. And thank you again for your participation. Next and final slide on this section here is just a quick view of what the comment form looks like and a reminder of to actually make sure your feedback is received and considered as well as it can be. Make sure you're downloading these forms. You can find them today in the Materials tab, which is right next to the question pane at the top right of your browser window or your app window. And within that, you'll be able to find the draft in its entirety, the comment form, and the cover letter to help you better understand the changes and provide feedback on those. And those comments are due back to us May 16th in today, and should be emailed using the comments form to comments@designlights.org. And thank you again for your participation. I'll hand things back to Andrew now.
Thank you very much, Casey. So now I'm going to go through some of that new eligibility. You can go to the next slide. So these next few slides are all excerpts from Table 2 in the draft. I'm not going to review each line, but you can take a screenshot or wait for the recording and slides to be posted to take a longer look. Or of course, you can simply read the draft itself. We'll also be going into more detail about each of these changes later in the call. This slide focuses on the changes to the outdoor primary use designations, or PUDs. As you can see in the rightmost column, we're clarifying some terminology, adding new PUDs, combining redundant ones, and converting some specialty PUDs into regular PUDs. Next, let's take a look at the solar-powered luminaire category, which is a new category for SSL. There will be a full section on this later, but some things to note are that outdoor requirements apply to solar PUDs, plus there will be a few additional data points to report on the application. We're also making some changes to indoor PUDs. On the next slide, we're adding one new PUD and converting several others from specialty. Now I'm going to go a little deeper into some of these changes to PUDs. You can keep going, Lauren. And one more, please. Let me explain the specialty conversions. The specialty designation was created to help uncommon product types receive incentives, but over the years, it has caused some confusion for our members, as some have been unclear on whether these products meet all DLC requirements. To answer that question, yes, they must meet all performance requirements of their analogous regular PUDs, except for distribution. And we're proposing the same approach in Draft 1. This draft doesn't propose distribution requirements for these converted specialty PUDs, but you can expect to see that proposed in Draft 2. So we selected 5 product types for conversion based on the quantity of listings on the QPL, as well as sustained interest in listing them across updates to the SSL program. These behaviors indicated to us that these products should no longer be considered specialty. So first, we're converting sports floods. We're also converting 3 types of hazardous environment products and indirect high bays. On the next slide, we'll take a look at the delineation of the linear ambient general application. Currently, we offer direct linear ambient and linear ambient with indirect component as eligibility pathways. Over the years, we've received feedback from member programs that there is a need to differentiate between those linear products that are more utilitarian in nature and others that would be found in more public areas, so that incentives can be right-sized to the cost of the products. Next, in this draft, we propose adding a PUD called direct linear strip to represent those more utilitarian products. And next, let's take a look at another change, which is that we're opening up a pathway for cove lighting within the direct linear ambient and linear ambient with indirect component PUDs only. However, we're proposing that cove lighting would not be eligible under the new strip PUD. It's also important to note that the direct linear strip PUD is mutually exclusive from the ambient PUDs. It will still be possible to list as both direct and indirect linear ambient, but in draft 1, we're proposing that manufacturers would not be able to list under both an ambient and the new strip PUD. On the next slide, we'll discuss that we're looking for feedback on the concept of opening up eligibility for several new types of lamps based on feedback that came later on in the drafting process. We're looking at categories previously covered by Energy Star, as well as medium screw-based replacements for HID. You'll find these questions surrounding this proposal in the eligibility section of the draft. On the next slide, we'll take a look at Energy Star. So when Energy Star reduced its catalog to only downlights, our members had indicated that these products were the most important types of products covered by Energy Star for their programs. Energy Star is a joint venture by the Department of Energy and the Environmental Protection Agency, and due to uncertainty surrounding federal funding, we are looking to be proactive in supporting our stakeholders. This draft requests feedback on picking up downlights and specifically asks whether we should use the Energy Star test methods and metrics. Based on the feedback we receive draft 2 may include requirements for both the new lamp types and downlights. And next, let's look at a new category of requirements, non-performance related reporting. So on the next slide, please, we're proposing a new category of required reporting that is not based on the performance of the product. We're doing this because members have consistently asked for installation-based PUDs to match how they apply incentives, which can be difficult to accomplish since our requirements are mostly performance-based. Incentive programs may have requirements that are more restrictive than DLC requirements, and it's our intent that these new fields will allow incentive reviewers to more easily verify that DLC listings match those requirements. First, product dimensions must be reported and can be provided in either standard or metric units. Next, form factor must be reported. Manufacturers must report at least one form factor based on a list, but may report multiple to reflect how a product is marketed. There will also be a non-conforming option with a write-in field. We'll also be displaying mounting options on the QPL. Manufacturers must report at least one mounting option, but may list any and all of the mounting options that correspond with the product. This change will not be affecting the way wildcarding in the model numbers works. Next, products must also now list their environmental protection ratings according to IP or UL rating systems. There will be no test reports required for this, but the information will be verified against the submitted spec sheet. Next, product images have been optional, but we've received such positive feedback from members that we're proposing to make this a requirement. And finally, manufacturers must provide spec sheets, and these may either be hosted by DLC or on the manufacturer's product website via a link on the QPL. And now I'm going to turn things over to Adrian to speak about solar-powered luminaires.
Thank you, Andrew. I will now get into more specifics on our requirements for outdoor solar-powered luminaires. Next slide, please. Solar-powered luminaires support decarbonization and energy resilience as they rely on solar energy. The most common solar luminaires operate off-grid, eliminating the need for wired connections and reducing infrastructure costs. They support energy independence and are ideal for applications where connecting to the grid is inaccessible or expensive. These systems typically include three major components: a solar panel to capture energy, a battery to store it, and a luminaire, which draws power from the battery, controlled by a charge controller. To ensure that the luminaire has enough power to remain operational throughout the night, factors such as location, light level needs, temperature, and shadows from the surrounding structures need to be taken into account when selecting and installing a product. By listing solar-powered luminaires on the QPL, the DLC aims to collect and display the most critical performance information needed to support system validation. Next slide. In SSL version 6, DLC qualification applies only to the luminaire component of the product. At this time, the DLC is not proposing to qualify solar panels, batteries, or any other system parts that aren't otherwise qualified under the outdoor luminaire category. As previously mentioned, all requirements for outdoor luminaires listed in other sections of this draft apply to solar luminaires as well, and there are some additional reported information required for solar luminaires. If we look at the table, the configuration specifies how the product components are configured. In an integrated system, the solar panel, battery, and luminaire are installed as one component, and typically the solar panel is integrated into the top of the luminaire head. For the configuration we are calling separate components, the luminaire is installed separately from the solar panel and battery. Typically, the solar panel is larger than for integrated systems and mounted to the top of the pole or wrapped around it. There are benefits and drawbacks for each type of configuration depending on the needs of the application. And finally, luminaires designed to be part of a solar luminaire system but sold separately from other components may indicate luminaire only as their configuration. Information about other components does not apply to these products. Grid connection specifies whether a solar luminaire is off-grid or hybrid. Off-grid products are not designed to have any connection to the electric grid and obtain energy only from the solar panel. Hybrid products are designed to connect to the grid and will typically switch to grid power in the event the battery runs out. Other reported fields include battery type, PV wattage, recommended install height, battery capacity, battery lifetime, and solar panel lifetime. Next slide. All right, now I will go over our proposals for efficacy threshold changes in version 6. Next slide, please. The standard thresholds proposed in draft 1 are a weighted average of 17% higher than the version 5.1 standard thresholds, although this varies by product type, with the largest increase being 29% and the smallest at 4%. These proposals were determined primarily based on efficacy statistics from version 5.1 qualified products, and we also took into account allowances for low CCT and high quality products, interactions with other proposed policy updates, market trends and projections, and product ages. SSL version 6 draft 1 also includes updates to efficacy allowances and premium efficacy thresholds. And just to note, no changes to output requirements are proposed in draft 1. Next slide. So I won't go through each row here, but these are our proposed thresholds for indoor non-amber products. The only change here is an efficacy increase between 10 and 20 lumens per watt, depending on the general application. Next slide. For outdoor efficacy thresholds, in version 5.1, we had a single threshold at 105 lumens per watt for the entire outdoor category. For version 6 draft 1, we are proposing to set independent thresholds for each primary use designation, or PUD, as we have seen a lot of variation between different technologies. The proposed thresholds range from 115 to 135 for non-amber products. This will allow us to save more energy for PUDs with higher efficacies on average, like canopy and area and roadway, while avoiding disadvantaging lower efficacy PUDs like decorative and bollards. Next slide. For lamps, there is no change to how we are splitting out thresholds, and our efficacy proposals for version 6 are 5 to 25 lumens per watt higher than version 5.1 thresholds. Our current proposal for mogul-based lamps is to align with the analogous luminaire thresholds for high bay, low bay, and outdoor, as was done in previous technical requirement versions. Next slide. As we are allowing for amber products for the first time in version 6, these will have their own efficacy thresholds that are the same across all general applications and PUDs and are lower than the ones I presented in the previous slides. These thresholds were set based on market assessments for each type of amber LED technology we are proposing to allow. So to recap, thresholds for indoor luminaires and lamps are split out at the general application level. Our proposal for outdoor luminaires is to split out thresholds at the PUD level, and for amber products of any category, thresholds are based on LED technology and do not depend on general application of PUD. Next slide. We are also proposing some changes to our efficacy allowances for low CCT products. We're setting higher allowances for all products with a CCT of 2700K or lower, and we are now accommodating 2000K and 1800K products, which are lower efficacy on average. Next slide. And for premium, we are proposing to set thresholds at 20 lumens per watt above standard across the board. In version 5.1, this was 15 lumens per watt, but our goal with version 6 is to differentiate a portion of the most energy efficient products. A very large percentage of version 5.1 qualified products met premium thresholds. So in version 6 draft 1, we set these thresholds higher relative to standard to make premium more meaningful and impactful from an energy saving perspective. Next slide, please. Okay, next I will go over our proposal to support sustainability in lighting. Next. To help support the DLC's mission of carbon reduction and other sustainability efforts in the lighting industry, we are introducing an optionally reported QPL field for certifications centered around sustainability. Because all other sections of our technical requirements focus only on the use phase of lighting products, with requirements impacting energy consumption, light pollution, and more, in SSL version 6, we are using the term sustainability to refer to anything encompassed in a life cycle analysis that doesn't solely focus on the product's use phase. This could include embodied carbon, material health, recyclability, and more. With version 6, if a product has a third-party verified certification that falls under our definition of sustainability, submitters will have the option to display this on the QPL. The current list of certifications we are supporting in draft 1 is displayed here, and we have aimed to be as inclusive as possible with this list. So please provide a comment if you have any suggested additions. And now I will hand it to Casey for quality of light.
Thank you, Adrian. So quality of light. We introduced quality of light as one of our kind of core concepts for proposals in SSL version 5 and 5.1, where quality of light is really intended to kind of encompass the characteristics of the lighting itself that impact productivity, performance, comfort, mood, safety. The list goes on. And following up on that introduction off of version 5.1, there are a few changes that we're making to the quality of light section that are proposed in draft 1. So next slide. These changes are supporting these high-level goals. First and foremost, while a lot of groundwork was laid in terms of better supporting light pollution with Luna, we want to make sure that we're also taking this into account for the broader QPL. So there are some changes in SSL version 6 draft 1 and Luna version 2.0 draft 1 that are specifically intended to better support options for qualified products that mitigate light pollution in outdoor applications. Secondary goal is making sure that our quality of light requirements are keeping up with changes and revisions in market needs as they occur. So what form do these actually take shape in the draft? So next slide. In draft 1, you'll see a specific proposals around the chromaticity requirements that establish a proposed CCT maximum for outdoor products set at 5,000K or lower. This is a reduction from the 6,500K eligible products today. Additionally, there are changes in terms of product eligibility for indoor and Luna eligible outdoor products that are described below. So first and foremost, as Adrian has already mentioned, there are these new product types, two of which you're probably more familiar with are the lower CCTs that are included in the ANSI C78-377 2024 standard, covering 1800 and 2000 Kelvin CCTs. Secondary are the three new amber LED technologies. First is DE amber, which is short for direct emission amber, and is a non-white light source with a peak emission near 590 nanometers and has a significantly narrower spectrum than PC amber and produce highly saturated colors. PC amber is short for phosphor converted amber, which is also a non-white light source that uses a blue LED with a phosphor phosphors to produce a broad amber emission similar to the method used in commercially available phosphor-converted white LEDs. Also, this product type produces a highly saturated color. And the third option is filtered amber, which is, in this circumstance, specific to outdoor luminaires with white LEDs, maybe within one of those ANSI CCT quadrangles, and has an amber filtered lens or optic that reduces that short wavelength radiation and is specifically targeted at meeting, say, Hawaii or Maui County Code criteria. Lior will be getting into more details in this in later section and in the non-white light amber standalone webinar. So if you're interested, make sure you attend. Next slide. Another kind of major change that you'll see in terms of available information, but not in terms of content or the technical requirements themselves, are in tables 11 and 12. And this is really tying together the eligible CCT range and eligible amber LED technology platforms with which primary use designations or general applications that those product types are eligible for, or chromaticities are eligible for. Next slide. And one other change we made in the quality of light technical requirements is specific to color maintenance. Under version 5.1, we introduced a custom DLC-derived and developed color maintenance process, which relies on existing LM80 data and chromaticity data within that testing to actually say, this much color shift has occurred over this much time. Since that process in version 5.1 was developed, ANSI IES TM35 2019 has been released. And so draft 1 is a first step at actually incorporating the standardized color maintenance reporting and specifically looking at CS4 and CS7 values, or the time it takes for 4 or 7 color shifts from the original chromaticity. And it's in addition to the color maintenance reporting requirements that are in place under version 5.1. There are no thresholds proposed for CS4 or CS7. This is just a step to start gathering that data and look to transition away from our custom process in a future revision. Next. I'll be handing it over to Jason to talk about controllability.
Thank you, Casey. All right, next slide, please. So for the controllability section, we are basically reorganizing the whole thing. And the idea here for why we're doing this is to better support controls sensitive programs with our members. We are changing the required reporting of controls products, including controls product variations within individual product IDs. And we're doing that by collecting specific driver and controls information through what we're calling controls options tables. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Next slide, please. As a big overview, we are taking the existing control features fields that are on the QPL today, next, and changing all that to this controls options table, and that will inform our controls categories. Next slide, please. The controls categories provide an easy way for member programs and utilities to quickly verify the controls capabilities of a specific product variation within a QPL listing. They are slightly different for both indoor and outdoor products, and they range from category 1, which is a simple luminaire only with no controls on board, all the way up to category 6, which is a luminaire level lighting control with an integral network controller and sensor. Next, please. Controls categories will be assigned by the DLC in the submission review process based on information submitted in the controls options tables. And these are some of the column headers of the information we'll be collecting in those controls options tables. There is specific information about each of these columns and the available answers for those questions in the technical requirements. Next slide, please. Moving on to field adjustability. Next slide. We are also rearranging the field adjustability section as well. This is to better align with industry practice and to encourage the use of lower output settings and lower color temperature settings. we are defining field adjustable as changes made to products at the time of installation, typically by the installing contractor, as opposed to changes made to products either remotely or over the course of normal operation, such as dimming. We have 3 types of field adjustability. Next slide, please. The first is field adjustable light output. And we are splitting this off from the definition of dimming. The idea here is that you adjust the light output at installation. That changes either both the lumen output and the wattage, and it's not typically adjusted over the course of operation, whereas a dimming adjustment is. We are proposing that field adjustable light output products ship at their lowest wattage setting. Next slide, please. And we have field adjustable color temperature or correlated color temperature. We are splitting this off from color tuning. Again, field adjustable adjustments are made at the time of installation, and we are proposing that FACT products ship at the lowest color temperature setting. Next slide, please. And then lastly, field adjustable light distribution. This definition stays the same, but we're going to display some more information. For indoor products, we'd like to display the degrees of adjustment available. And for outdoor products, the IES distribution type and the NEMA distribution types. And thank you. All right. Lastly, we have a webinar dedicated to controls and field adjustable topics coming up in a couple weeks on April 30th. So please join us on that webinar for more information.
All right, and I'm back to talk now a little bit about premium. So we can go ahead and go to the next slide. If you're not familiar with it, premium basically is intended to be a higher level designation of qualified products that really focus in on higher efficacy, more controllability associated with energy savings opportunities tied to those controls opportunities or capabilities. Additionally, there are some requirements in terms of higher levels of quality of light and other considerations. So it's really holistic of our technical requirements and intended to reflect a higher market of the QPL. In SSL version 6, Luna version 2.0 Draft 1, we really wanted to focus in on that and kind of refine it, looking more specifically at efficacy and controllability and how those things can better support greater energy savings opportunities and the value of premium for our members. Today, version 5.1 premium QPL listings make up over 50% of the entire QPL. We're expecting that to be kind of a smaller subset in the beginning and allow and encourage an industry transition to better controlled LED lighting solutions altogether. So how exactly are we doing this? Are on the next few slides. Next. First and foremost, as Adrian said earlier, we wanted to make sure that we're differentiating those more energy efficient products based on efficacies. So we dug into the QPL data and really looked at increasing that 15 lumen per watt delta over standard to 20 lumen per watt delta. And this is just about a 15 to 16% increase on average for the worst performing premium listed products over the weighted average of standard listed products. So more energy savings opportunities for example, areas where you already have LED as a baseline and really need to make sure that that next installation saves energy over things that are already installed. Or just get the juice right away. Go straight from non-LED to the highest performing LEDs out there. Next is the focus on controllability, right? So we wanted to make sure that premium controllability requirements enable greater energy savings, not just through the efficacy delta over standard, but by better supporting controls and products with integration with control systems. So how do we do that? We kind of focused on 3 key points. First, taking that existing requirement for continuous dim and making sure it's proposed down to a minimum level, right? So continuous dimming down to 10% or lower is a proposed requirement in Draft 1. Additionally, only specific controls categories that Jason was just speaking about, those being controls categories 2, 5, and 6, are proposed as eligible for premium in Draft 1. Make sure you're attending that controls and field adjustability webinar to really understand that more, and also how that relates back to these subcategories being eligible for premium. And then last but not least, we're going to make sure that we're proposing only digital drivers are a baseline for premium listed products, due to the nature that you have more confidence and more capabilities in terms of those energy savings opportunities tied to the controllability. And again, all of these details for premium are described in Table 30. So if you're not familiar with it, or if you want to see it in the very specific writing, look at Table 30 for the details. Next. Continuing off of version 5.1, established premium requirements, and kind of right-sizing it a little bit, is we're wanting to make sure that troughers maintain the UGR thresholds that already exist under version 5.1, and that's to supporting glare mitigation while better understanding and incorporating those kind of metric trade-offs with how we go about qualifying products and reporting performance on our qualified products list. Next slide. Continued again from version 5.1, the premium chromaticity requirements that support more uniform lighting installations are still in place. So this is still looking at, instead of a 7-step quadrangle coming from that ANSI C78 377 standard, looking at the 4-step quadrangles for all eligible CCTs. Those new non-white light CCTs are not eligible for premium in outdoor, so this wouldn't apply to those. And then next is the premium lumen maintenance requirement. So we still have a standard lumen maintenance requirement, and I'll be talking about that a little bit more in a few slides from now. But premium establishes a higher tier in terms of looking at a higher level of confidence in that the flux is maintained, or the lumen output is maintained over the duration of the product's performance, and goes beyond the L70 threshold that applies for standard, but establishes an L90 requirement of 36,000 hours or greater, meaning no more than 10% light loss over that first 36,000 hours. And this is not a change from version 5.1. And next. So next I'll be talking about our color tuning and fill adjustable CCT subsection. And the major goal here was really to make sure that we're supporting this technology type. So we do see a transition in the industry and growing popularity for color tunable products, and want to make sure that our technical requirements are kind of recognizing and accommodating that trend and these product types. So one of the major changes that we did is kind of open the door up for full color tunable products. This would be products that tune to specific monochromatic colors, or anywhere really within or beyond those eligible CCT quadrangles. And since there are newly eligible CCTs proposed in Draft 1 that are considered non-white by nature, we're proposing to rename rename white tunable products to CCT tunable products. Otherwise, no new testing, no new reporting. Same testing applies for color tunable as applies for white tunable in general. So if you're already familiar with it, should be a pretty seamless transition for version 6.0 with these. And next, I'll be talking about the lumen maintenance and driver lifetime requirements. Again, these are largely consistent with what we have today under version 5.1 and are really intended to support confidence in that the energy savings that are estimated and are being incentivized with product's initial performance, which shows up on the QPL, is realized throughout the lifetime of that product, and can help with reduced maintenance costs. So better confidence in products that are being incented, that are those energy savings are going to be realized, focusing in specifically on maintaining those lumen maintenance or outputs from initial output, and implementing a driver lifetime requirement for all listings. Next slide. What this actually looks like is shown on table 28 in draft 1. You can see here there is a separate lower threshold for L70 for the new non-white light options. And the major change here, though, is that the driver lifetime requirement, which exists today for premium listings, is being proposed as a baseline requirement for all SSL, premium, standard, or Luna qualified products, being it has to have a driver lifetime and ISTMT testing to validate that lifetime of 50,000 hours or more. And next slide. And with that, I'll hand it over to Leora to talk about Luna.
Thank you, Casey. As I mentioned before, Luna supports energy efficiency programs, cities and municipalities, and all outdoor lighting decision makers looking for outdoor lighting that saves energy and minimizes light pollution. Let's look at what's changing in Luna version 2.0. Next. Luna version 2.0 continues our support for high-quality, energy-efficient outdoor lighting that mitigates light pollution. To achieve these goals, we're expanding eligible product types, allowing products with 1800K and 2000K CCTs to qualify, as well as amber LED technologies. These lower CCT LED and amber LED products can significantly lower sky glow and reduce impacts on nocturnal organisms in sensitive environments. We're also simplifying our testing and controls requirements without reducing Luna's rigor. Manufacturers must continue to test Luna products at the highest and lowest Luna qualifying CCT, but they can now choose which light output products are used for LM79 color testing, that is sphere testing. This is also being proposed for amber LED products. And Luna version 2.0 no longer has its own controllability requirements. Instead, Luna qualified products must meet the version 6 standard or premium controllability requirements, whichever is applicable based on the desired classification from the manufacturer submitting products. Details about these new product types and testing requirements are in tables 32 and 34 of the draft and on pages 111 and 112. Next slide, please. We are excited to add turtle lighting PUDs to Luna version 2.0. These products include area lighting, wall-mounted lighting, and bollard lighting products. These must use direct emission amber LEDs, which are less disorienting to sea turtles. However, an effective turtle lighting fixture requires more than just using direct emission amber LEDs. It must also incorporate shielding and optics to block direct line of sight to the source and control stray light that may contribute to disorientation. That's why we're also requiring zero uplight, limits on total light output, and high angle light for these products. In addition, these products must meet the Luna version 2.0 requirements for available shielding options, dimmability, and controllability. You'll find metrics and criteria for these products on tables 33 and 35. Next slide. We're also expanding Luna eligibility to include low CCT and amber lamps and retrofit kits. These weren't allowed in Luna version 1.0, but with the right criteria, these products can reduce both energy use and light pollution. We're adding thresholds for maximum light output for these products, uplight, and lowering the max CCT to 2700K. Importantly, these thresholds apply for Luna qualified products of these types, not general SSL qualified products. And we're also proposing that field adjustable light fixtures can qualify to Luna, which is new, even if they go above 3000K, as long as they are shipped set to the lowest Luna qualifying CCT and the lowest wattage. This aligns with new SSL 6.0 field adjustable requirements, as Jason mentioned earlier, and taps into common contractor behavior. Next slide. Finally, there's a lot more to share about direct emission amber and PC amber and filtered amber requirements and Luna 2.0 requirements, and we'll be hosting a dedicated webinar focused on these technologies and Luna version 2.0 criteria next week. So please join us next Wednesday, April 23rd at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. You see the QR code on the slide links you to the sign up page. Thanks very much for your time today and your support, and I'll turn it back over to Casey.
All right, thank you, Leora. And kind of going into the last two sections here, so make sure you're entering your questions in the question pane, and our team will be happy to answer them either live or during the Q&A portion here in a few minutes. So first up, I'll be talking about our alternately sourced equivalent components subsection and proposed requirements associated with that. So next slide. Just to set the stage, this topic has come to us quite a few times over the years, and from the voice of the manufacturer, and is really trying to make sure that whenever they qualify a product, that kind of any alternate subcomponents that they may use and kind of regularly offer with that listed product are understood and qualifiable as well. So in SSL version 6, Luna version 2 draft 1, we are proposing a pathway to report and actually qualify these alternate variations. Specific proposals are made for alternate LEDs and alternate drivers, with the understanding that these changes to LEDs and drivers are not intended to change the performance, but are, for example, addressing supply chain issues and other things. And from the DLC side of things, we want to make sure that these alternate subcomponents still don't compromise the quality of what's listed on the QPL, and that a QPL user or a product that gets incented based on its QPL listed status is actually the QPL listed product. So while we still allow and will support worst case performance testing to qualify families of products, alternate LEDs and alternate drivers will have reportable pathways, and those subcomponents will still need to undergo the same level of testing as the original qualified subcomponents, demonstrating that they meet those lumen maintenance and driver lifetime requirements that are proposed. And we'll have to kind of perform within that performance tolerances that are proposed and have not been changed since version 5.1. So yeah, there's a ton of questions that we have on this, and hope it meets the need, especially in today's climate, and look forward to your feedback. And kind of going into the final section here now, on the next slide, is toward the very end of our technical requirements, we have a section for additional reporting specific to LM79, LM80, and TM21s, etc. And these are the high-level details within that subsection that you need to know about. So next slide. First and foremost, in that section and throughout the technical requirements draft, you'll see that we're looking to update where we point to standards from the industry, especially IES standards that are referenced like LM79, LM80, TM21, etc., that we're pointing to the latest versions of those. And kind of as doing our due diligence as we point to these revised standards, we want to make sure that we're no longer supporting deprecated versions of these standards. So one change that we have in draft 1 is to no longer allow LM7908. For products that are already qualified, this does not mean you need to retest to the new standard, but it does mean that any new listed version 6 product or new Luna version 2 product would need to be tested to the most relevant LM79 standard. And additionally, where we have LM79 color and LM79 distribution test reports specifically laid out in this section, one addition to those is that both of those types must be submitted in a PDF format. If you notice any standards that we point to in our technical requirements and don't point to the latest one, it's probably my bad. So just make sure you submit a comment, point it out to us, and make sure we're pointing to the relevant things. And if you have specific concerns with revisions that have occurred in these standards, let us know, and that way we can take that feedback into account also. And with that, I think that wraps up our technical requirements reporting portion of the webinar here, and I'll hand it back to Andrew to lead us through Q&A. So thank you all.
Thank you, Casey, and great job, team. We are way ahead of time, so the good news is we picked up some time for this Q&A session, so we should be able to get to way more questions. So I'm going to open it up now. We have some questions that we'll be answering live, but keep them coming in, please. Let's see. Let me just find these up. So we'll be covering some things that were answered in the chat, but we find them important, so we will make sure they are also answered live. So there is a question, will existing 5.1 products automatically transition over to 6.0, or will all SKUs have to be resubmitted? And if so, what will the costing look like for this transition? Will SKU costs be included, or will there be a discount? And I will turn this over to Casey, because I believe you answered in chat.
I did, yes. So yeah, thank you for the question. And for anyone who didn't already see the response or gather from the proposals that we discussed today are included in draft 1, there will not be an automatic transition from version 5.1 listed products to version 6.0 products. And this is kind of first and foremost due to the nature of requiring new information. It doesn't mean that if your products meet all of our testing requirements, and we're not requiring you to retest those things to update to version 6, but where we do require new reported information, for example, the suite of information that Andrew described in the non-performance reporting details and toward the earlier portion of the webinar and in the first section of the technical requirements, you will need to provide that with your version 5.1 to version 6.0 update applications to actually update those listings. Fees and kind of more specific guidance in terms of the application process will be available once we get closer to the final policy. Right now, we're still kind of squaring away, what the technical requirements are, and have put everything out as a proposal that's subject to change. So if you love it or hate it, make sure you give us some feedback on it.
Thanks, Casey. And I saw someone put their hand up in this call. Just so you know, we're not going to be using that feature, so please put your questions in the question pane. So maybe that was a mistake, but we're just going to constrain all of these to the question pane rather than unmuting. So I have another question. Actually, it was for you, Casey. You went away too soon. Question was, will the CCT tolerance still follow ANSI 78.377?
Yes, that's correct. So for any eligible CCT, we'll still be looking to the ANSI C78377 standard. And the one kind of difference that is proposed around that in draft 1 is that we're looking at the 2024 version of that standard, which includes those two new lower CCTs being 1800 and 2000K.
All right, thank you, Casey. And you may mute your camera now. I don't think I have one for you quite yet. Thanks. So let's see. I've got a question. It's a long one. Will DLC be adding support for medium-base lamps to the qualified product list in the following primary use designations? Replacement lamps for fuel pump canopy luminaires, type B, replacement lamps for high bay luminaires, type B, replacement lamps for low bay luminaires, type B, replacement lamps for outdoor pole arm mounted area and roadway luminaires, replacement lamps for outdoor pole and arm mounted area and roadway luminaires, type C, and replacement lamps for outdoor pole and arm mounted decorative luminaires, type B. So short answer is no. We are not proposing that in this draft. The types of lamps that we are proposing to, we're really seeking feedback on whether or not we should propose to include those, are limited to the ones shown earlier on the slide. So they are, can't list them off the top of my head. Let me see. But they're not specific to PUDs. They are PUDs in their own right, the way we list them. But that, if that is how we do it, that is some good feedback, and I encourage you to explain it in the comment form. So these would be, the medium screw base LED replacement lamps for HID, and then any Energy Star, AR, BR, etc., PAR. So no, the answer is we're not currently considering that. Let's see what else we have. All right, will there be a one-to-one mapping between a specific product model within a product ID and specific controls category on the QPL? Jason, I'm tapping you in. Please answer.
Thanks, Andrew. The short answer is yes and no, which I realize is not really an answer. Currently, the products on the QPL, the controls options are what we call wildcarded, where one product ID represents multiple controls options available with a product. So our solution to this, to avoid requiring each control variation of a product to be listed separately, is we are collecting information about those specific controls options, and then that information will be displayed within a product ID record. One of the goals is to be able to search for a complete model number with some controls information with a controls option code in there, and then get a positive result that that specific model number is listed, as well as what the specific controls category is associated with that controls options code. We will be talking in much more detail about this on the April 30th webinar, so please join us then.
Sure. Thank you, Jason. Let's see. Just checking to see what answers or questions are coming in.
Andrew, I just sent you another one.
Yep. Hold on. Jason, I think I'm not seeing the one tagged for me, so I'm just going to go through the ones that say answer live only. All right. So Phalo and Fact, minimum setting shipping out is a suggestion, could become a requirement to be listed on the product data sheet. So Jason, could you answer this one, please?
The short version is that is the proposal. We're looking for feedback on that idea. It would be nice to see some kind of indication of what it ships at on the spec sheet, but we are looking for feedback. So please let us know what you think about that.
Thank you. And I have a question for Casey. How would you describe the basic differences between premium and non-premium to a person who is not versed in lighting?
Yeah, so from a DLC perspective, non-premium meets our baseline requirements. That's going to be, efficacy, color rendition, color maintenance, a ton of information. So any standard listing you look at is still got all this information on the QPL. It meets all of our thresholds, and it's kind of above, what we would generally consider bad performing LEDs. Premium really focuses in more specifically on those same attributes and looks at kind of being a bit more limiting or discerning those higher performing products, whether it be higher efficacy, more controllability, more color uniformity between those things by, for example, looking at 4-step instead of 7-step CCT quadrangles, etc. Glare is another consideration. So there's this whole higher tier that I would say of performance that premium looks at over our standard. That doesn't mean standard is bad, though.
All right, thank you, Casey. And while you're still here, we have a question. What is driver lifetime? What is the driver lifetime change?
Yeah, so the driver lifetime change isn't so much a change to the threshold or to the process in terms of like what actually needs to be tested to demonstrate it. What the change actually is, instead of requiring driver lifetime as a threshold and ISTMT testing and driver performance data to kind of validate that only for premium listings, it's becoming a requirement for all listings. So the change is not just premium will be requiring driver lifetime, but standard and premium will be required to meet our driver lifetime under version 6.
Awesome. And speaking of driver lifetime, it is based on 25°C ambient. Is that correct?
So it's in situ. So what you have to do is do your thermal test in situ. That may be 25°C in most cases, and then basically once we understand in situ what your driver temperature is measured at, we'll be looking to compare that against the lifetime versus operating temperature data that comes from the driver manufacturer and ensure that in situ how it's being operated in that particular luminaire is performing better than or at the same level that is needed to kind of meet that 50,000 hour requirement.
Thank you, Casey. And I have a question I think I can answer. Will the manufacturer spec sheet links be made public, or are you keeping them internally? So this is referring to the requirement to turn in a spec sheet. They will be public. The intent of this is to allow someone, an incentive reviewer who is reviewing an application, to quickly verify that the spec sheet that is part of their application is the same, refers to the same product that is on the QPL. So we'll be displaying the link on the QPL so you can maintain that as you see fit. Okay. Good. The questions are really flowing now, so I appreciate this. All right. Here's a question on wattage and CCT selecting and tuning. So the wattage and CCT selecting tuning are encouraged by DLC. What is the rationale for requiring products to ship at specific settings if you want them to have this ability? Jason, let's see what you have to say.
The basic rationale is people don't adjust things. So if it's already set at the lowest color temperature and output, there is some chance that they will stay that way and save more energy in the long term. So that's a basic thought. Like I said, we're looking for feedback on that idea. Please let us know what you think. And actually, Andrew, while I'm here, there was another question about, say the Phalo proposals seem to assume Phalo products have a discrete number of settings. What about products with continuously programmable drivers? The answer to that is we're drawing a line in the sand that those are not field adjustable. If a driver is programmed at the factory, or I would say even at the distributor, I'm going to say that does not fall under field adjustable products. I'm happy to have that argument. Send comments. Thanks.
Thank you, Jason. We have another question. Any chance to take over products that Energy Star dropped instead of doing the same thing as Energy Star? So we're proposing to do the same thing as Energy Star only in the case of the downlights and downlight retrofit kit. So that is Energy Star's current spec. They dropped everything else and retained only the downlights, and that was some of the guidance that our members gave us. So part of our proposal, the questions we have in the draft are actually picking up some of those older categories that Energy Star did drop, but just for lamps. So if you have any other feedback regarding old products, we will take that in the comment form in that section. Got a question about premium. someone was wondering the relationship between premium and CCT. So Casey, could you help us out here?
Yeah. So basically, the difference between the chromaticity requirements between standard and premium are that standard allows for any of the anti-standardized quadrangles in any manner, right? So there's those are defined as 7-step quadrangles. We can get into the weeds on that if you want. I'm happy to have an email or another call on that. But essentially, it's a certain size color space for any particular CCT, and your product can be in many different places within that and still claim that same CCT. The difference for premium is that it's a smaller box that's being drawn. So instead of being 7 steps, it's only 4 steps. And this is also defined in that ANSI C78377 standard, and DLC is aligning with that. And the main intention there is that by having a smaller quadrangle or smaller variations within one manufacturer or multiple manufacturers listing on premium, that the overall installed color is more uniform.
Thanks, Casey. And I got a thumbs down there about my response on the Energy Star. So I thought of one clarification I could make about why we're not looking at those other products. We did an analysis of the Energy Star catalog, and the vast majority of the products that were in there would not meet minimum DLC thresholds. So that's why we're not looking at that. Generally, the reason for that is Energy Star was, of course, for residential. And DLC is for commercial products. And in some cases, there might be a crossover, and that's the case in which we're looking at picking up some of those products. All right, so we have another question that came through on driver lifetime. It looks like driver lifetime for type A and type B are exempt. Does that mean that there is no minimum for these lamps now?
It means that the requirement is the same as it is today. So version 6 would not be changing those requirements for those types of products. They're already not eligible for premium. And since the driver lifetime requirement is moving from premium to a standard requirement, this is just one exception that's been carved out. So no change to the requirements for those particular products.
Thanks, Casey. All right, so when submitting TM21 for V6, do you accept the ANSI TM21 calculator or the Energy Star TM21 form, even though the EPA has discontinued the form? Looks like you're eager to take this one, Casey. Go for it.
Yeah, happy to. So we'll accept either. The IES calculator is probably preferred, but Energy Star is hosting their retired calculator for us since we do require it. So both should be available throughout version 6. If there are any changes, we'll be sure to communicate those in advance. But right now, the plan is that we'll accept either.
All right. We got another question on premium. Can LED lamps UL type A, B, or C qualify for DLC premium classification? I'll throw that one to you again, Kate.
All right. Yeah, so basically no lamps are eligible for premium, unless I'm not thinking of something right now. But so no.
Okay, and I will have a question on step dimming. So why is there no longer a step dimming exception for the mogul base lamps? I think you're qualified. Take this while you got your camera on, Casey.
Actually, I would, if Leora or
Defer.
Jason, if Leora or Jason want to speak to that one, I'd be happy to defer.
Go for it, Leora.
Okay, I can answer this one. We did propose carving it out for draft 1. If you feel strongly that should be added back in draft 2, please share your feedback with us. But we're proposing not to allow that. So let us know what you think. Thanks for your feedback. Thanks for your question today.
Thank you, Leora. Someone asks, is there a possibility in extending the deadline date of October of 2026 if the QPL is already in process for version 6 upgrade from version 5.1? So I'm a little confused about the phrasing of the question, but I believe the question is referring to, if you've recently submitted an application for 5.1 and that is still in process, will you still be delisted? So that is why we have the deadline to complete applications in that timeline. So I believe that deadline to complete the applications, and that's a deadline for us as well as you. Let's see, that was in September, I believe it was September 15th. Leora, I have another question for you. Does the DLC consider to add the requirement of NEMA LL10 to LED HID lamps when claiming equivalence versus conventional HID lamps?
I saw that question. It is not in our plan at the moment, but please, in your comment, I believe this would probably be a general comment, please speak to this. Let us know what you think the value is for our stakeholders and make some suggestions as to how we would do that. We are looking at those medium-based HID replacement lamps, and so if you feel it's applicable there, if we're just, say, looking at a wattage equivalency and not necessarily a chromaticity equivalency, I know that's part of LL10, we'll consider it. So please give us some more information. Thank you for your suggestion and add it to the comment form.
Thank you, Leora. And I have another question for you on digital drivers.
Sure.
To meet DLC premium requirement, will we need to have digital drivers now?
Yes, that is our proposal. So no 0 to 10 volt drivers in luminaires, only digital drivers, and there's a number of suggestions in there. Please let us know if we're missing any. And the reason that we are requiring digital drivers is for a number of reasons. First, it is to be able to support more predictable dimming and more granular dimming like we can do with digital drivers. It's to support bidirectional communications, which is very important for controllability, to support better asset management, and to support energy monitoring, all of which are important to us and our stakeholders. So thank you for that question. Again, please give us your feedback in the comment form. Thanks for your interest.
And Leora, I have one more for you.
Sure.
For the V5.1 QPL upgrade to V6.0, aside from non-performance information, do we need to repeat performance testing, or existing reports will be transported over?
So I believe this is for updates from 5.1 to 6.0 and not new application. And if your products meet the requirements in 6.0, I do not believe additional testing is required unless there's something there that you're missing. For example, for standard, if it's driver lifetime reporting or something else, or if you're looking to do lower CCTs, those 1800K CCTs or amber, which we did not accept before, there will be new performance testing in there, of course, as part of your family.
All right, and I think you can also answer this one, Leora. Oh, Casey, did you have something to add?
Yeah. I just wanted to add on to the last one. So the only other kind of retest or new test that would be needed is, say, if you do report that you're using some other alternate subcomponent, and those translate to a new worst case variation with those alternate subcomponents, you would need to retest it so that the better performing products would still qualify, using that worst case variation. And then the subcomponent testing itself for those alternate subcomponents would need to be reported.
Excellent clarification. Thank you, Casey. Do you have another one for me, Andrew?
I do have another one for you. Do non-white light products get an allowance for minimum light output in addition to minimum efficacy, or will they have separate minimum light output requirements similar to the turtle lighting PUD?
That's a good question. So we are proposing maximum light output requirements, thresholds for those turtle lighting products, but we are not proposing different minimums. So it is based on that PUD minimum. So a bollard has a different minimum light output requirement than an outdoor product. But I think this might be a nuance that we need to pick up. So thank you for this excellent comment. Please make it in your comment form and we will look at our data analysis and see if that's necessary. Thanks very much. That's why we have a draft one, so we can all work together to develop a better final policy. Excellent questions today.
Yeah, and I think you can stick around for this one too.
Okay.
And maybe also Casey could help out. Will you consider updating your certification process so it includes only the highest power consuming configuration, similar to Energy Star?
I don't have a response to that off the top of my head and all of the interactions there. I don't know if Casey, if you want to jump in here. That's definitely a good comment to make on the comment form.
Yeah, it's something that we can definitely look at and keep in mind as we kind of reevaluate and put together manufacturer guidance and our kind of baseline testing needs for qualifying something to version 6. I'd say our testing requirements are a little bit more holistic and comprehensive than Energy Stars in general, and are a large reason why members look to us, for example, as a kind of there's a lot of validation that goes in by manufacturers and DLC and working with appropriate test labs to actually test, a good variety of products, but not all of them, to allow for a larger family to get qualified and still have good enough confidence in the performance of those listed products. So it's definitely something we can look at, but I think because we look at more than just power and efficacy, we require more testing. But thank you for that comment.
Thank you, Casey. So I have a question about the delisting timeline. What will happen to the in-stock products that were qualified based on the previous version requirements and we were not able to sell until the end of 2026? So yeah, this is something that we're hoping to avoid as much as possible for you. So, I mean, the basic question is that they will no longer be qualified for DLC after the delisting. But we do know that some members do extend grace periods, and some incentive programs do extend grace periods for these products, so that may apply to you. But the way we try to mitigate this is we have been communicating a Q3 2026 delisting event since the summer of 2024. So we're trying to give manufacturers as much of a runway as possible. Lior, I have a question for you. When testing mogul-based LED lamps, should DLC consider bare lamp tests instead of in-luminaire tests, like requirements for linear lamps?
We are still proposing in luminaire testing for version 6.0 Draft 1 and not bare lamp tests, whether that is for Luna requirements or SSL version 6 requirements. We're still proposing to use in luminaire tests. Let us know what you think of that. And if we were to consider an alternative, what the ramifications look like and what the trade-offs might be and the benefits and disadvantages would be. So thanks. Good question.
Okay, so we have time for just a couple more questions. We need a few minutes to wrap up the call, but we've been getting through a lot. So anything that we're not able to answer live today, we will be sure to follow up with you later. So if an outdoor product is listed by testing at highest and lowest CCTs, highest being 5700K and other CCTs being prorated from these test values, how would this impact the child products when 5,700K products are delisted?
I think maybe Casey and I could both answer. So there
Yeah,
are some
tag team.
carve-outs to allow some 5,700K products to be listed. Those are sports floods products and fuel pump canopy products. We are still proposing to allow those at 5,700 Kelvin for those PUDs. If you are not speaking to those PUDs specifically and another product type, then you would have to identify the worst case again in that family and make sure that the testing is indicative of your worst case criteria once those product types are ineligible. I hope that helps. Thanks.
Thank you. And I have another testing question. If we have current products on premium with alternate LEDs and drivers already listed on our CSA/ETL submitted reports, do those fixtures all need to be retested now? So this one is maybe Casey could take the equivalent sourcing.
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah, so in terms of like safety certifications and things like that, it definitely should be good to go. The only retesting that we would need potentially is if those alternates actually translate to worse performing in terms of efficacy or our other kind of worst case conditions that are described in the family grouping application details or level 2 application details today, and in the compliance testing pathway details toward the very end of draft 1.
Was muted for a second there. Thank you, Casey. So I think we're going to wrap up the Q&A session now. We have a few more things to communicate. So why don't you go forward 2 slides for me, Lauren? Thank you. So we're going to take another look at the release timeline. Just bring it up for you again. We've been talking about it a lot. And you'll see on the right side in the purple and orange, we've added 2 new bubbles. And these are for the additional 2 webinars that we've been referencing throughout the call. So these 2 webinars do go into greater detail on some of the bigger topics in SSL 6 and Luna 2. So on April 23rd, we're going to have an Amber specifications webinar. And on April 30th, we're going to have a controls, categories, and field adjustable webinar. So I'm sure there'll be a lot of questions on these. These are the big changes, so be sure to register for these. And on the next slide is how you can register. So we have a few QR codes here. The big one in the middle is for version 6 and version 2.0 materials. You can go and download them there. And then on either side, we have the Amber and controls webinars. And so I'll take this opportunity to mention that and to stress that the comment form that you can download at this QR code is the only format in which we're going to take feedback. We're expecting to receive a lot of feedback on draft 1 here, so we want to keep it organized. So please use the comment form, and the comment form itself does include instructions on how to submit to DLC. So with that, I think we're bringing our SSL version 6 and Luna 2 draft 1 release webinar to a close. We really appreciate you tuning in today and taking the time to read the document and give us some feedback. It's only with our attendees here that we are able to publish the best requirements out there that will support the market. So thank you very much, and we will leave these QR codes up for you if you're scanning them. Have a great day.